Okay, so we were just talking about what oils we're using, and I put on a magnolia, and Erin put on,
Aspire.
yes. So we're feeling good, looking good, ready for this.
Oil it. Stretch. No.
All those fingertips. All right. So I am so excited, everybody, that we have like one of the best interviews, I think, coming up. And we've been excited about this one for a long time. And I'm excited because not only the person that is our guest is one of my like best friends in the world, she also is a huge inspiration to not only me, but to like hundreds and thousands of people. She has gone through a total life transformation that I can't wait for her to talk to you guys about. Just like with physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, like she has hit every spectrum of life and did it all at like one time. And that's how she does when she does something. She goes all in. She's hard and she shows up, she gives back, and that's what she's doing now. So now she's taking her experience of the past year and really pouring in to others who are going through the same thing that she was going through, or that are about to start their journey. And she's just inspiration to everybody who kind of wants to up level and go to the next level in their life. And she's all about living her best life. And so that's why I really love her too. And so I am really excited to introduce Erin Branscombe to you. And so I just want her to introduce herself. And also she's a mom of four. That's not any big or little task. That's like the number one job, right, of all times. Um, and she's a business owner. So she has it all going on. So Erin, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please introduce yourself and then share your story and kind of like walk us through how you got to where you were and like what made you change your mind? Like what made you decide to tackle everything at one time?
Okay, well, thank you. What a welcome. I'm so honored to be here and be on your Healthy Mom Chat. So excited. I, like you said, am a mom of four, wife, and business owner. I own Rustic Barn Media, which is a media marketing company. We do business coaching and mentorship for small businesses and social media support and help businesses really level up to the next level, if that makes any sense. And I actually am coming back after a year-long hiatus of shutting my business down for a year. And that was a super scary thing to do because we really needed the money. We were in a lot of debt a year ago, and we were really in a place where we couldn't afford for me to take any time off. But I really felt this pull, like from God, telling me, you need to step back. You need to shut this down. And so I actually shut my business down. Besides 1 to 2 clients, as you know, for the past year.
Yes.
And
One of them being me.
yeah, I kept Bonnie. I kept, a little bit of consulting on the side, but I really focused head on hard on my health and wellness and on our finances.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds a little counterintuitive because we shut our business down, but yet we were focusing on paying off debt. And so I really believe that when you get intentional with your life and you get really intentional in one area that you feel in your gut that you need to focus on, that the other areas kind of eventually fall into line too.
Yes.
And so I guess I could just rewind to September 2017. I felt like I had no control over my life. I felt like I was almost 300 pounds. We were in so much debt that when my dad passed away, I tried to book a hotel, just one night in a hotel for my family to stay for his memorial, and we didn't have the money in our account. And we were struggling month to month to buy groceries. We were putting groceries on credit cards. I don't know if anyone else identifies with that. It's a very stressful place to be. And it was a place where we were just robbing Peter to pay Paul every month. We were like, well, what credit card can we use for groceries this month?
Right.
What We can never get any momentum in our finances. It was always Murphy popping up every month with some sort of emergency, and it was just really a stressful place for us. And I kind of reached my limit where I was like done. I was done living like that. I was done putting my family through that. And I was actually done being so heavy and unhealthy too. And it wasn't that I was actually a pretty fairly healthy person for being 300 pounds. I was very lucky. I didn't have any huge medical issues or anything like that. But what was happening on the inside was bad. I
Right.
had a lot of emotional, just scarring, just a lot of, just wasn't functioning at my best. I wasn't giving my family my best. I wasn't giving my business my best. And I knew I had to majorly scale back in all areas of life. And it wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't easy to shut down my business and tell people that I wasn't taking on any new clients. I stopped posting to social media. In fact, I culled my Facebook friend list down to a very tight circle, just shut down. And it was kind of traumatic. And then I just decided one day I could no longer be almost 300 pounds. I could no longer be the woman I wanted to be, the mom I wanted to be at that weight. And I knew I needed to do something about it. So I decided to do something a little scary. And I went to Tijuana, Mexico and had bariatric surgery, which I know seems a little intense. And believe me, it was intense for me as well. And I made a decision that I was going to change my life, and I was going to change it on December 2nd, 2017. So I went to Tijuana, Mexico with my mom, and I had bariatric surgery. I had 85% of my stomach removed, and I had gastric sleeve surgery, which is where your stomach is now very small and you can only eat certain, a little bit of food. It kind of retrains you and gives you a boundary to eat less. I really suffered at the time from food addiction and really battled with that hard. I mean, hard. Any feelings I had, I would numb with food. And I think it's becoming something that is very prevalent that a lot of people don't even realize they have. And so I feel like when we're unhealthy, we are working our crap out on other people, right? We are not the best mom. We are not the best wife. We are unintentionally hurting the people around us because we can't really heal from the real problems we have when we're battling addiction. And so one of the things I decided to do in the past year was really focus super hard and intentional on self-care and healing. And I think a lot of people are raised that vulnerability and self-care is like a weakness. Like we don't talk about it, we don't focus on that with other people, and it's not. Self-care is so important. And for 36 years, I put everyone first. Everyone first. I put my kids first, I put my neighbors first, I put my husband first. Everybody was first. And I came dead last in everything. I fed myself garbage, but fed my family healthy. I would give and give to everyone else around me, but yet my family was in debt every month. Dead last. So I kind of had this whispering in my heart, like, first love yourself. I just kept hearing that this past year is first love yourself. You have to first love yourself. And I see it everywhere, like fly, FLY, first love yourself. And I really believe this is actually a Brene Brown quote.
The song "Love Yourself First."
Alexa, stop. Sorry, Alexa just turned on.
She's always listening.
Alexa, stop. Okay, so Alexa is going crazy. Sorry. A little bit of humor there. I feel like this is a Brene Brown quote, by the way. I'm not cool enough to have cool things like this, but once everyone understands their value, they stop hustling for their worthiness and they lean into their gifts. And I feel like once I started putting myself first and pouring into myself first, I had more to give. And then I was beginning to understand what my gifts were that I had not been able to see before. And so how that looked like for me was I couldn't be the person I wanted to be as CEO of Rustic Barn Media. I couldn't give to my clients at 110% when I didn't even have that to give myself. And I can't pour from an empty cup. And my cup was far from empty. It was bone dry. And so once I learned to start pouring into myself every day and showing up for myself, I started to retrain my brain that I will show up for myself. It wasn't I'll show up sometimes for myself. It's I show up all the time for myself. And so once my brain began to realize, oh, wow, you're really going to show up. Like that's when my true gifts started to come out. That's when I was able to pour into other people. That's when complete restoration in my life began to come about. I can't even explain how we paid off all our debt this year other than totally blessing and gifts from God. I mean, there were times where I don't even know. I would need something like to pay for my son's braces, and we would get another client that, a consulting client that I could use to pay for my son's braces. Or we wanted to pay off our debt, and I was able to pay off $70,514 worth of debt from January of 2018 to now. So that's 10 months if you're doing.
Say that again. Say that again.
$70,514 worth of debt in 10 months. And we don't make a lot of money. In fact, I'd shut my business down. So we were making enough to eat every month, and there wasn't a lot extra. So we found extra by being very creative and using what we had. And so, there was a lot of cuts we made, a lot of decisions we said no to so that we could say yes to financial freedom. And so I felt like when we started to work on ourselves, like everything comes into play. Everything straightens up and comes right. I don't even know how to explain that, except when you work harder on yourself on the inside, everything on the outside begins to match.
So true. So true.
So true. I'm reading a book that's super inspiring right now, and we can link this in your video. It's called Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. It talks a lot about addiction. It talks a lot about healing yourself. It talks a lot about just kind of being comfortable with being uncomfortable sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people struggle with addiction because they are afraid to walk through the hard times, and they're afraid to sit with the pain, right? They're afraid to sit with the uncomfortable things. And so one of the things I did in the past year was I got real comfortable being uncomfortable. And I learned to sit in that hard stuff, but not dwell in that hard stuff. And so whenever I was going through like processing something that was really bothering me that normally I would feed with addiction, whether that be alcohol or food, I would redirect and process through it instead of fueling pain with more pain.
That's huge. For the people listening, what would be an example of going through that and not running to food or another addiction? And addictions, a lot of the women that I talk to, alcohol, social media addiction, food, Netflix, whatever it is, how did you put yourself in that healthy spot?
So one of the things we always think about when we dream our big dreams, right? We think, oh, my life would be just perfect if I lost 120 pounds. If I paid off all our debt, I would be riding a unicorn on a rainbow, right? Everything would be perfect if only these things would happen, right? We tell ourselves that because those are our dreams. Like that's how we get through hard times, is we dream bigger things for ourselves. But what you don't prepare for is when God says, okay, I'm going to match your dreams and make them all happen all at once. So that's kind of what happened to us. Is I dreamed of losing weight. I dreamed of being debt free, and all that happened in 10 months. And what you don't think about at the same time is life is still going to kick you when you're in the highs. Like you don't think about the negatives that are going to happen while you're living that best life, right? Because life still happens. Life still is, you're still going to have obstacles and things that are going to happen. So we had a problem this year with my son. He went to live with his dad. It was super, very well, we've talked about it, how traumatic that was for me to lose my son and have him go to his dad's and not have a good relationship with us. And, those were things that I honestly don't know I could have gotten through before I started on this healing journey. I think it would have bottomed me out. I think it would have stripped me to my core, and I wouldn't have been able to function. I probably would have been so severely depressed and not able to deal with it. But instead of, focusing on the hurt and processing it with bad things like food or depression or anxiety, I was able to process through it, walk through that pain, and walk through it with my head up and come out the other side and still walk through it, but not fuel pain with more pain, like food addiction and things like that. And so instead of what that looked like for me was, instead of eating pain, it was processing it, journaling it, talking with good friends, using healthy coping mechanisms instead of ones that were going to put me away from my goal, right?
Exactly. Okay, you just said so much. You were awesome. And Erin and I talk almost every day, and so I know her story, and she literally walks the walk. Everything that she says, she does. And I remember the first time she told me, she's like, I'm going to Mexico to get surgery. I'm like, what? and we had talked before about your food addiction, but not as, I feel like a lot of it came out when you're like, no, that I do have a problem and I need to fix it. I need to work on myself. Before I feel like there was a lot of excuses, and now you're just like, you know what? I'm done with the excuses and I'm doing it. So what changed your mind in the beginning where you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with all the excuses. I'm just going to do it, and I'm going full force.
Yeah. So I think what we would call that is our sick and tired of being sick and tired moment, right? Where we are just done. Like, I always tell people, you will know, that you're done. You just have this no doubt about it. I mean, I was scared to go to Mexico and have surgery. I was scared, but I knew in my gut that it needed to happen. I knew that I needed this healthy boundary so that I could change my life, because the surgery is a tool. It doesn't magically make you skinny forever. In fact, 99% of all bariatric patients regain their weight and more. So I knew that this wasn't a long-term fix. It was a short-term fix to get to my goal. Mm-hmm. So I talked a little bit earlier about how I lost my dad in August of 2017, so about 14 months ago. And, he was only 61. He wasn't old by any means. I'm 36, almost 37, so I feel like if 61 was going to be the ending point for me, that's not a lot of time.
Right.
And I watched my dad battle with a lot of addiction, food addiction, alcohol addiction, abusing weight loss drugs. He battled with his weight for most of his life. He was a career Armyman. He was an athlete. He had a really good story. He really abused his body repeatedly. I wouldn't call that a good story, but he had an interesting story. He abused his body repeatedly, but he was also one of the #1 athletes in the military. He I don't even think people have beat his PT test scores to this day. Wow. His fitness scores were off the chain. So he actually weighed 400 pounds, and he walked into a recruiter's office when I was a baby, actually, and he wanted to join, and they all laughed at him. And they were like, yeah, okay, come back when you're not 400 pounds. And he went home, and in a period of, actually, I think it was 10 months. I've checked with my mom. In a period of 10 months, he dropped 200 pounds.
Wow.
He was an athlete. He became super focused on physical fitness. And then when he was battling, his battle, he would put the weight on, but then take it off with like unhealthy ways like Dexatrim. I remember watching that as a kid and thinking, oh, so that's how we lose weight, not knowing any better. And I watched my dad binge a lot and then exercise a lot. And I watched a lot of him struggle with alcoholism and then reach sobriety. And then by that point, the damage was done. He was 42 and he hit diabetes and heart disease very young. And it led to him exiting the military at 22 years instead of more of a longer career. And he was a decorated veteran. He had medals, like really good medals. Like he did some really cool things that we didn't even know about until I uncovered all the paperwork when I was preparing for his funeral at Arlington National Cemetery. I didn't realize what a hero he was. He just didn't talk about it. And so he went so hard on his body from like probably the age of 20 to 42 that he did so much irreversible damage that it really like aged him. So when he was 61 and died of heart disease, his heart was probably 90. And for me, I'm turning 37 next week. I don't want to have an early death. I didn't have an unhealthy body at 61. I didn't want to watch my dad take piles of pills every day just to get through life. And not have a very good life either, not a very healthy, happy life. And so I think it just punched me in the gut when he died. I was like, I don't want to die. I don't want my kids to go through this. And I don't want my kids to be burying me at 37. You know, they're at 37 burying me at 61 or whatever. And so that made me like launch into this like health journey where I just was all in. And I think sometimes it takes that sick and tired moment to rock you to your core and say, I don't want to die at 61. I don't want my kids. So what you need to know too is for the past like 20 years of my dad's life, like the last 10 years of his life, we never know which year he was going to die because he had so many heart attacks and so many setbacks that it was very traumatic as an adult to watch your dad live that way. And for your mom to call and you always think, why are you calling me? Did something happen to my dad? And so for 10 years, I watched him battle so hard with his health that we never knew if it was our last Christmas with him or not. We never knew if it was our last birthday with him or not. And so I think I just didn't want my kids to go through that. Mm. And, funny, today my daughter asked to take a picture of me in the kitchen. She said, you look so pretty, Mom. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. That's so nice. And she used to really struggle with my weight. And she used to make comments that most people would think, oh, that's mean, but it wasn't mean. It was her watching her mom struggle with addiction, and it was hurting her. I was hurting my kids. And today she said, Mom, your legs used to be so big. And that's kind of comical now. Like, that used to really bother her about me, that I had really big legs. I don't know why, but they really bothered her. And she would talk about it like, your legs are so big. And now I'm a size 8, if that puts into perspective. I used to be a size 22, almost 24. So that's a lot of weight loss.
Right.
So she took a picture of me in the kitchen. She was just, you could see it on her face. She was just so proud of me. And, I'm kind of over the weight loss now. It's just it's just daily for me. Like, I'm here. I feel good and I'm grateful every day, but it's not like every day I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, it's me now. But my kids are still looking in awe, and that's kind of cool to watch, is they're like, you could see that they're proud. And so that makes me feel good. But I think it's important to say too, I didn't do this for my kids. I didn't do this for my husband. I did it for me. And I think when we start showing up for us and we start doing things for us, that's when the real transformation happens. Because yeah, we want to be our best for our kids, but first love yourself. Because when you can look at that person in the mirror and genuinely love her and care about her and walk with her and take care of her, that's when the real transformation happens. You can do whatever you want for your kids, but you have to love yourself first. And this is something I shared earlier on a video interview I actually did this morning, was I used to not be able to sit in the quiet with myself. I couldn't sit and just think. I had to always be thinking or playing on my phone or doing something busy because I couldn't stand myself, to be honest. I had such a hatred for my body, my mind, my weight, and guilt and shame for what I'd done to my body that I couldn't sit and just think. I couldn't just sit and be with my thoughts. I always had to be doing, moving, and not sitting in the quiet. White space didn't exist for me. And now I intentionally carve that time out every morning. I will sit with my coffee and I will journal and I will just think, like, what am I going to do for today? What do I want Erin to look like 5 years from now? And I'm happy and I can sit with myself and just be and just have that quiet time. Whereas before, I would almost have like a panic attack just sitting in quiet because I couldn't function. I didn't want to talk. And there was a lot of forgiveness in there too. Like, I had to forgive myself for a lot of things and forgive others and really walk through that pain and say, you know what, this is 2018. This is a new Erin. This is a new time. We have to let that go. I still have those feelings come up of like, anger, shame, fear. And I just have to say, you know what? Nope. We already shut that door. We already turned the page. We're on a new chapter now. We walk through that. We're moving on, and just give myself forgiveness and space to be new and be refined. I think people keep saying that to me, that I look refined. And I think that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really had to learn to sit in that hard space. I don't dwell in that hard space. I don't own that hard space. I walk through it, push through it, and move through. Because that was a hard time for me. Those were hard battles for me, was sitting in, like, dealing with those emotions, because those are what fueled the addiction to keep gaining weight.
Yes. I don't want to go too long. I have like a couple of questions here for you. So one, okay, so when to go back, we've done an interview on this before too, but on the story time. But when we first started working together, I said, you know, are you interested in using the oils? And you're like, no way, no, I don't want anything to do with the oils. And I said, well, you have to know something about the oils, because that's what I'm all about, right? And so you slowly started using the oils, but then since then you've told me, you spoke about it on your YouTube channel and your videos and different things, that they have played a huge role for you emotionally, like through all of this, through the grieving of your dad and the whole journey emotionally. You've said even at times you've missed the weight. I mean, like, you have gone through every emotion, worried about finances, about how you're going to pay the bills, worried about, are you going to eat? Are you going to gain it back? You know, how can you mentor other women? You've had so many things coming at you. So how have you been able to keep your mind focused, you know, not even with just the oils, but with the oils, and then without the oils? Like, how do you stay in your high vibe state?
That is a great question.
I know, there's other questions in that question.
Bonnie did send me a box of oils in January 2017. Those actually sat on my fireplace in the box for 2 months. I was in a very heavy place mentally. It was hard for me to even picture using oils at the time. And so when I began working for her and, you know, sharing and, you know, working with oils and stories and social media, I began to hear all the things that they could do and learn. So I opened up that box, and that was the best thing I ever did. I can't imagine my life without oils now. Oils have been a huge part of my journey. Emotional aromatherapy became a complete game changer for me. Oils have been able to make me lose that heavy feeling of, I can't do this. Like that, I feel so much freer. The fog lifts. I feel like I can work through a lot of things easier with oils. I do not have oils around me. In fact, I've got oils everywhere. I use them every day. I recommend them to everyone I come across. I really wouldn't have my journey without the oils. And I'll never stop talking about the oils because I'm so grateful. I think gratitude plays a huge part of this journey, and I'm so grateful for you, Bonnie, and for showing me about oils. I have been using them. It'll be almost 2 years this January that I got that box that I didn't use right away. But the thing with oils is you don't have to be an expert, right? You just have to open it up. You just have to open it. I don't even have a concentrated bottle with me. I just have rollers. But you just have to open it up, open up your diffuser, put some water in it, put a couple drops, and let it do its work, right? So when you are feeling heavy and you are coming from a low vibe state like I was, where you can barely function, all you have to do is turn on your diffuser. I really believe that oils played a huge part of this. I have tried to walk through every self-care way that I know how in the past year. And I turned to doTERRA for their supplements. That was a huge part for me, huge. So I don't say this lightly, and I don't say this to brag, but I have lost more, I think, than the average bariatric patient has lost in 10 months. And I think part of that is from oils and supplements. I'm coming across some people that don't lose as quickly. And I really dug deep into that and tried to unpack why. Why am I losing more than the average person? Because I have lost 119 pounds in 10 months. That's a lot. That is a human. That is like a whole grown woman. And I even talked to my bariatric surgeon about that. Like, why do you think I lost the weight faster than the average person? And he said, we really unpacked that. And one of the things we discovered was I really reduced my toxic load. And what that means is we have a lot of toxins around us in our environment, whether it's environmental toxins in processed foods, cleaning things, hygiene products, things that our body's like bombarded with chemicals daily. And one thing that I really discovered was when we reduce that toxic load around us, we are able to shed weight quicker. And it wasn't a race for me to lose this weight. It was a journey. It's a lifestyle change, right? I don't want to lose the weight and then gain it back. So I knew I had to set things in play to make sure I didn't gain it back. And so reducing my toxic load was a big thing. I switched over to healthy cleaning products. We only use doTERRA and natural cleaning products in our home. I use all the natural supplements that I can use for hygiene products, right? I try not to eat any processed foods if possible. I mean, I'm human, guys, but I really don't eat fast food. Very limited. I'll have treats every now and then, but if I do, I try to eat clean treats, so I'm not eating processed chemicals. I do a ton of essential oils. I use a Zendocrine roller. That was a huge thing. I use that daily over my liver, gallbladder, and pancreas for detoxing of the organs. I do a lot of detoxing so that my body can lose this weight and maintain it and lose it pretty efficiently. That is one thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about is toxic load. We're just so used to the chemicals everywhere. We're so used to the processed foods because they're quick, right? And when we really start reducing as moms, as women, that toxic load around us, just not even having surgery or anything like that, just reducing the chemicals that we expose our families and our bodies to, we can lose weight naturally just doing those things.
Right.
So that's what the supplements and the oils have kind of helped me with.
I love that. Okay, so I have more questions for you, but Christy asked a really good question, and this sort of goes in line with what we talked about with what other things like do you do to keep yourself positive. And so she asked Erin, and you're like the perfect one for this. I'm glad she asked. Erin, did you work with a counselor to help you get such a positive outlook on yourself or on life, or do you use certain books? Or all books?
I actually, oh my goodness, yeah. So no, I actually did not see a counselor for this. I wish I had, to be honest. I don't have the greatest health insurance, so I didn't seek counseling. But I'm a big believer in counseling. So I actually have a bachelor's degree in human services, and I'm a big, big proponent in counseling. I believe in it. I encourage it, especially when you go through such an impactful transformation as I did. I really think people need to be grounded and have that. That's actually, girls, stop apologizing. That is on my shelf behind me. It is. It's a new copy. It's an advanced copy. I just read it. It was so good. But I do believe in counseling. I am a big believer in therapy. If you can get to therapy and work through that, please do. We were in a place financially that it was going to be about $250 an hour to do that, and I didn't. If you want to know the name of my counselor, her name is Bonnie Donahue. Bonnie's been a huge mentor for me this past year, and we walked through a lot together. I walked through a lot with Bonnie, and she's an amazing listener, encourager. We did a lot of oil protocol together. We would say, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this oil. And that was a huge part for me. Bonnie's super knowledgeable with oils and just self-care, and that was a huge part. So I do read a lot. For who pointed out the book behind me, good eye, by the way. I don't know how good you can see that, but I read a ton of personal Personal development is huge for me on this journey. I probably read 8 books a month. That's a lot. That's 2 a week. And some of them I'm listening to on Audible, and some I actually physically read. The publicist for Rachel Hollis reached out and asked me to review her copy, which I've already read it like twice. It's a really good book, you guys. So I read it twice. Definitely pre-order that book. We can put that link in Bonnie's description if you want to pre-order it. But it is a good book. I pour into personal development, and for me, I knew I needed like intense rehabilitation to refine and rehabilitate myself on this journey. And so that is, I think, why I do above normal average personal development. I really had to learn to walk through all this.
And I've asked Erin in the past, she's like always posting books that she's, getting from the library and different things. I'm like, Erin, like I listen to a lot of books. Like I listen to probably about 100 a year. And so I feel like I listen to a lot, but I don't actually sit down and read them. So I'm like, Erin, how the heck do you have time to sit and read a book? But she's in bed at like, what time you go to bed? At like 8, you're like in bed.
I'm basically a 75-year-old woman. I have where my family, we love our sleep and we are all big readers.
Yeah.
So even my kids read a lot too. We are frequent flyers at our library. So at the bottom of our library receipts, it shows like how much we've saved by using our library every year. We've saved over like $6,000 this year using our library.
I love that.
My kids and me, we are all big readers, so we like to be in bed early and we read. And I read a lot from like 8 o'clock to 10:30, sometimes later. But I try to be in bed and and I'm also a really fast reader, so that helps. But I read a lot at night. I also get up really early in the morning, and I like to pour it into myself before I start client work. Because it goes first, love yourself. Like you can't pour from an empty cup. So in the morning, I get up and I have coffee and I journal and I really try to pour into myself first, even if it's just reading a couple pages of whatever book I'm reading, just because when I feel like I've given something to myself, then I can give more to the people around me.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Okay, so for time, I'm just going to scratch the rest of those questions, but I do have one last thing. So and this is great too, so people want to hear this stuff, but what would you say to the woman who's listening to this, who is about to, or knows she needs to make a big change in her life? So it might not be weight loss or finances, it could just be anything, but what would you say to her to finally put herself first and to love herself first?
Wow. Okay. Just jump. Just do it. Don't think about if you're going to hit a goal. Don't think about if you're going to meet a dream. Just do it. Like every day, start showing up for yourself so that you retrain your brain that you are showing up for yourself, that you will show up for yourself. No one is going to come and save you. No one came to me and said, hey, Erin, you're almost 300 pounds and you're eating yourself to death. No one did that. No one's going to save you. You have to save yourself first. And you need to jump. And you need to not think, do I have a parachute? Is anyone going to catch me? Who's going to walk with me? No, you have to walk with yourself. You have to walk first and you have to just do it. You have to just show up every day for yourself. Start getting up an hour early. Start journaling. Walk through whatever pain and baggage that you've been carrying and just do it. Show up every day and do self-care for yourself every day. Drink water, fuel your body, move your body. Do all the things that you know to do to love your body. Do all the things that you would tell your best friend to do. And Bonnie reminds me of that all the time. I will tell her something and she'll go, well, are you doing that? And so be the best friend you would want to have, right? Be that best friend for yourself. Because when you start showing up for yourself, other people will start showing up for you. They will start sitting up straighter, paying attention, and they will be inspired. Because when you walk in your purpose, others will be inspired too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Woo! Awesome, Erin. Thank you so much. We had a ton of comments. A lot of women are getting inspired by your journey. They're rooting for you. Before we close out, where can they find you if they want to learn more about you and your story?
Well, I actually have a YouTube channel and I've shared this whole journey from start to finish. You can go back and watch Erin at 300 pounds all the way to 171 pounds. So I do have a YouTube channel. It's My Level 10 Life. You can just type in, we can put that in the description too. But you can find me at My Level 10 Life on YouTube, and we can link that video for you. And that's where you can find me. Or I'm over on Instagram at My Level 10 Life.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. And I was so excited about introducing you that I forgot to say that this is the Healthy Mom Chat every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I was just so excited about getting you on here. So again, I'm Bonnie, and this is going live on our Essential Oils for Moms Facebook page, and we're going to upload it to YouTube. So subscribe at Bonnie Donahue, and also my lovely Erin is going to be putting it onto a podcast. So we're going to be doing that in the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much for everyone getting on live. Thank you for all the comments and for getting on to watch the replay. I'm excited. And Erin, thank you for sharing. I know that's not easy, and you are here and helping so many people. So thank you, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for having me.